Tenants and lessors each have certain rights and obligations when renting a dwelling. This includes the terms of housing such as rent, privacy, and responsibilities that each party holds. Both tenant and lessor must ensure that they comply with the Residential Tenancies and Rooming Accommodation Act of 2008 when investing themselves in a real property. The Act aims to balance out these rights and obligations in the interest of both parties to ensure that each is protected when renting a dwelling. When starting yourself as a new tenant of a rental property, you have certain legal rights and obligations when renting out a dwelling. When renting a property, you as the tenant are expected to pay your rent on time. Keep the place clean, tidy, and undamaged, keep to the term of your tenancy agreement, and to respect your neighbor's right to peace and quiet. When beginning a residence as a young tenant, your lease is a written agreement between you and your landlord, indicating the things that you and the lessor must ensure are done whilst renting the property, as you both must comply to the agreement. When renting a dwelling, you as the tenant must ensure that you understand and uphold all of your rental requirements. When signing to the tenancy agreement for a rental property, this means that you are agreeing to pay rent on a timely basis in order to live there and uphold all of your duties discussed with your landlord. According to the Residential Tenancies and Rooming Accommodation Act of 2008, you as the tenant are entitled to quiet enjoyment and peace of the premises. As a tenant of a rental property, you have certain obligations to which you must uphold. This includes not using the premises for any illegal purpose, to not cause a nuisance of the premises, to not interfere with the reasonable peace, comfort, or privacy of your neighbors, and to keep the premises and inclusions reasonably clean, having regard to their condition at the start of the residential tenancy. Housing Minister Tim Mander states that if you cannot respect government property or your neighbors, then you have no future in public housing. During your tenancy, if you breach your agreement, such as Gary Peters, tenant from hell, whom left the premises in a shockingly filthy condition and owing close to $10,000 in rent, you yourself will have to face the consequences that will accompany your actions as an unruly tenant. You must also ensure that you do not intentionally damage the premises or inclusions, and ensure that at the end of the tenancy you leave the premises and inclusions in the same condition as they were at the start of your residence. During your tenancy, if you breach your agreement during your rental period, you face a poor housing reputation, making your next rental difficult, as well as ultimately losing your current residence. Being in breach of your agreement means that you have broken one or more of the rules of your lease with the lessor. If you breach the agreement, the owner must take certain steps before they can end your tenancy. As your landlord also agrees to the tenancy agreement, there are certain rules and responsibilities that your homeowner must follow. As a tenant, if you do not pay your rent on time, your landlord can send you a breach notice and may even terminate your notice without first asking you to pay the errors. However, when removing you as the tenant from the property, it is illegal for the homeowner to lock you out of the dwelling without a court order or tribunal approval present. When renting a property, the lessor must carry out all of the rental duties. This includes managing repairs and maintenance, making sure that the dwelling meets all health and safety laws. They lodge the bond with the Rental Tenancies Authority, and that they respect the tenant's privacy as well as comply with all entry requirements. Unfortunately, there is an increasing number of renters being forced to put up with properties that are damp, dangerous, and badly in need of repair, but feel powerless to speak out in fear of being thrown out or forced to find somewhere else to live. If your landlord fails to comply with any of the terms agreed within your tenancy agreement, such as the terms relating to access, reasonable peace, comfort and privacy, repairs and maintenance, you as the tenant face compensation for losses you've suffered as a result of the breach. You are also able to receive a rent reduction if the rent amounts to a withdrawal of goods, services, or faculties. As a result of the breach, you may require to pay your rent to the tribunal rather than to your landlord, and may even face termination of the tenancy on the grounds of the breach. In conclusion, both tenant and lessor must ensure that they comply with the Residential Tenancies and Rooming Accommodation Act of 2008 when investing themselves in a real property. Both tenants and lessors must uphold their rental duties and requirements to ensure that the terms of tenancy agreement are met. This includes the condition of the dwelling and inclusions, as well as continuing to uphold the property's state of repair and maintaining the necessary legal responsibilities required. Failing to uphold the duties required may result in rental termination and other legal disputes regarding a property. As a tenant, you must comply with your tenancy agreement and continue to pay your rent and uphold your rental responsibility as a young tenant, as well as understanding your rights and obligations whilst renting a dwelling. When understanding your expectations as a tenant, as well as acknowledging the responsibilities of your lessor, you have an idea as to what you are entitled to and the requirements you must uphold, making your rental experience a successful one. Good luck when beginning your tenancy.